happy for our players, really proud of them and in their efforts in winning the game over at Hawaii. It's a difficult trip, multiple things, travel, distractions, the weather, the humidity, the heat coming, from Logan at this time of the year. And our guys are very businesslike. It's not to say they're not enjoying what they're doing, because I really think they're having fun playing ball. Football's important to this group of guys, and especially to these leaders, and they take it very, very serious. And their ability to continue to remain focused each and every week is kind of remarkable to me and motivating to me as a coach and to our assistant coaches. I thought our assistant coaches did a great job with their preparation, the plan, the game plan on both sides of the ball, and I thought our guys executed it. We played it very well. A little sloppy in the kicking game for me and for us, and we need to get some things corrected. I don't think we covered kicks very well. We didn't protect our punt very well, and we didn't protect our field goal kicker very well, and that's going to get addressed immediately today moving forward. So I just didn't think it was up to our standards, but had a lot of good performances all the way around. I thought both quarterbacks played well. Both running backs played extremely well. I thought our offensive line kept the quarterback pretty clean and kept him protected and did a nice job in the run game. Anytime you rush for over 400 yards, you do a good job. But probably the best game that we've had all year, outside receivers and slot receivers and our tight ends out on the perimeter. You don't really run for that amount of yards without excellent blocking out on the edge and the perimeter and down the field, and I thought our guys did a really good job. Really good performance by our defense. Basically gave up 11 points when the game was, kind of being contested. And, the fourth down stops were excellent, the turnovers. But I thought our defensive line played exceptionally well. Devon, Anderson, Wale, Chris, and Fua, I thought, dominated the line of scrimmage. You hold somebody to 2.2 yards per rush and continually pressured the quarterback and got a ton of hits on the quarterback. I thought they played very well. Woody, as always, and Chase, very, very consistent. Gage Ferguson maybe played his best game of the year, very productive in the back end. So it's kind of it all the way around. And as I look forward to San Jose, this is a big game, and this is I know we're already fired up about it because it's senior day, and that's an important day, I think, in most programs. But we make a little bit bigger deal about it around here, and I know we always play well at senior day, but we're motivated to send the senior class out undefeated. There's only been 3 of them that have been 6-0 before them in 120-some years of Utah State football, and so this has got a chance to be the 4th. And those when you have a season where you go undefeated at home, you can have a special season overall. And we're putting ourselves in a position to continue to do that. And but the big picture is have a chance to play for the Mountain Division Championship, Mountain West Championship at the end of this month. The small picture and the small focus is San Jose State, who has actually been playing very well of late. They've got some close losses. They're putting some points up on the board, and they're doing a good job. I think they're very well coached. Their staff, their coordinators, the head coach, I have a lot of respect for them. And this team continues to fight. You just turn on the tape, as we turned it on last night, and all day, or all morning this morning, you see them continue to fight. And, I think kind of starting with the Oregon game all the way down, they've been very, very competitive, and they continue to fight. So much respect to them. And but as always, the focus will be us, what we do, how we do it, how we play on offense, our tempo, our pace, and how we play on defense, and making sure that we are right schematically, first of all, during the week, and then emotionally and with the right amount of energy at 2 o'clock on Saturday. So we'll look forward to playing at Maverick Stadium one more time. So with that, go ahead and open it up for questions.
Coach, you you've been around a lot of football, obviously. Did you ever imagine that? I mean, you want to have, when you dial up offenses and you look at it, but would you ever have imagined you'd be as efficient or scoring the points like you are with this team?
You know, I think more coaches aren't in the prediction business, and we don't sit around and think of it that way, Al. That's a very fair question. I think when you have the experience that you have coming back on the offensive line, the experience, I mean, really all three slots are back. Every receiver was back except Jalen and Devin Tompkins, who we added those two guys this summer. Both tight ends were back. One running back was back. The starting quarterback was back. I mean, there's a lot of guys back for year two. Really, the four guys that are playing a ton that didn't play last year. Alfred Edwards, who was in the system for a year as a redshirt. The two receivers that came in this summer, and then Darwin. But Darwin came in January. And so we've added them on top of a ton of guys coming back. And then here's where I think is getting lost in this whole thing is the guys that are coming back, or that were coming back, as many of them first-year starters, they took a step forward in their progression. They got bigger, they got stronger, they got a little bit better versed in this offense. I did say that I thought year two in this offense would be much better. And I didn't, I don't, to ever sit around and imagine scoring this many points type of deal. But we're in a good rhythm. Our guys are very confident in what we're doing. And again, it goes back to our philosophy. It's what we do and how we do it. And we've stayed consistent to that, but our players have bought into that and they've played well. And then the other thing too, we've stayed relatively injury-free on offense. Dax Raymond missing 2 games. DJ Nelson's missed, I think, 2 games. I don't know if we've had anybody else missing games. Moroni and Inguez early in the year for a couple. Alfred Edwards for maybe 1. I mean, we haven't had very many injuries on offense, so that's allowed you to continue to, to sustain some rhythm and some chemistry on offense. And I think you kind of put all that together, and it's kind of what you're seeing right now.
Can I then ask, is there a concern about Jordan's health playing this week?
No, I'm not concerned.
Looking, Hawaii's kind of encapsulated the trend that you've had offensively the last few weeks, where first quarter you jumped on, scored touchdowns on each of your first 4 drives as a team. What's been kind of the consistent thread or key that's allowed you guys to start so fast, regardless of each opponent?
It's something that we talk about. I think we attempt to practice it. I also think what we do on offense is very, very hard, no matter what I hear in the media, to replicate during the week in practice for scout teams. I think it's extremely hard. The pace that we're playing, we have been fairly balanced between run and pass, and although that's not an attempt to be that balanced 50-50, we have been. But I think it's hard to replicate, and I think you have an opportunity to play with the speed that we want to early in the game and potentially jump on somebody. But I think it's also a credit to our offense that it's been fairly consistent through the first several drives of the first quarter and the third quarter. If you go back and you kind of self-scout us a little bit, we've started pretty quick. So even when the pace has been dictated at times, we've been able to play fairly efficient. And so I'm proud of our offense for that.
Darwin he breaks so many tackles. He's up to 4th nationally in yards per carry. I mean, just how hard is it to, as an opposing team, is it to deal with a guy who consistently breaks tackles like that?
Well, I think what you're dealing with, Jason, is you're dealing with two backs that are similar, that are fresh, that have been, basically split in time 50-50. And if you look at their carries, their reps, their averages, Gerald Bright and Darwin Thompson are both pretty equal. I think that's worked out in their favor because you're splitting reps like that in a game. You're dividing the amount of hits you're taking by two, and same thing as in practice. Same thing through training camp. And so I think the cumulative effect is starting to work. And they're both very, very good backs. And that may be the first time I've said that all year. I've been waiting to say it, just because I think the tail of the tape for a running back is as the season goes on and hits do accumulate and you get tired and you get sore and all that. But those two have played at a very high level. It's a credit to them. I think they're getting coached very, very well. They both are strong lower body, which allows them to break tackles. And then they both have another gear and speed to be able to hit home runs.
Coach, about the senior class, you've already talked about what they've meant to you, I think, a couple weeks ago. On senior day, does the emotions get you as well before the game, not only it's these kids' final home game?
Yeah, it does. It always does because you're handing them a lay and a ball, and you realize it'll be the last time that they play in Maverick Stadium. I remember my senior game. You always remember it. So, yeah, you do. This year will be a little different, only because if we, we control our own destiny. I'll just say it that way. There may be a chance they get one more. You never know.
Really quick, I want to ask you about the two running backs from San Jose State, Robertson and Nevins. Is there any difference between their styles of running? It seems like they're getting kind of both equal carries.
Yeah, they do a good job of mixing both of those guys, and I think probably too, Ajay, is that I think maybe the same thing's happening for them, that when you split carries like that and split reps, you stay a little healthier. So I'm sure they feel that's an advantage for them.
But it still looks like in the stats, despite the runners, that they're a passing team for the most part. Or they've been much more productive through the air than they have been on the ground.
They have been very productive through the air. The quarterback, Love, is a good quarterback. He's accurate. He's throwing it well. And you got a really good tight end that's going to play on Sundays. That kid he's very physical. He can run, catches the ball very well. He's a physical presence.
We talked about kind of the fast starts that the offense have had, but defense has had equally fast starts in terms of being able to generate takeaways from opponents. How critical has been the timing of the takeaways? Because obviously, takeaways help, but they help a lot more if they're at the right time in the game.
Well, I don't know if we predict what time they come in the game, but we'll take them anytime. Our defense, that's something that Coach Patterson stresses, is takeaways and creating turnovers. And I think we've done a really good job of that. We're one of the leaders in the country, not the Mountain West, but the country in that. And on the flip side, we've done a good job of taking care of the football. And if we're top 10 in the country in turnover margin, and that's an important part of the plan to win. But I think the turnovers that we're creating on defense, when they do come, our offense has done a nice job of capitalizing and finding ways to score right after them. And what that does is that creates momentum. It creates energy on the sidelines. It can create a lot of mojo and momentum in a stadium when you're at home in front of your home crowd. And so I think it's important to be able to capitalize off of that, and the offense has done that. But I think we've just fed both sides of the ball. Has done a great job of feeding off each other and being able to create momentum. And lately that's been happening, first quarter, middle of the first quarter to the middle of the second quarter, and we've been able to generate some points and get some 3-and-outs on defense.
And kind of looking at just the conference in general, you've got yourself and Fresno State in the top 25. You've got San Diego State and Boise State just outside. What does it speak to just the level of quality of football in the Mountain West this year? You have 4 teams that are up there nationally.
Yeah. Well, I've been saying it since the summer, and I think there's a lot of parity in this league. There's a lot of good football programs, programs meaning year after year after year. And, the four that you just mentioned are having all good years, and I think they're getting some recognition nationally and some credit, and I think it's well-deserved. And this is a tough league. There's some really good football coaches that we go up against and staffs that we go up against each and every week, and it's a tremendous challenge. And so I think the recognition that the Mountain West is getting, I think it's well deserved.
Seems to me San Jose State's kind of turned their season around because they've been good in their turnover margin. They've forced 3 fumbles.
Yeah, they've done a good job in the turnover margin in the Mountain West. If I'm not mistaken, in all the Mountain West games, I think they're second in the Mountain West in turnover margin. So they're taking the ball away on defense, but what they're not doing is they're not giving it up. I think they've only thrown 4 interceptions in 5 conference games. You guys are shaking your head, so I must be right. No fumbles, if I'm not mistaken. So they've done a very good job of winning the turnover margin, taking balls away and footballs away, and taking care of the ball. So when you do that, you keep yourself in a game. And like I said, they've had some games that could have gone either way, and some close losses, unfortunately for them. But like I said before, I think it's a sign to me, surely out of this office, is a sign of respect to how hard that team plays. That's reflective to me in coaching and demanding that the kids continue to fight, but also a credit to those players for responding. They continue to fight, and they've played their best ball lately.
Does the team, just a few minutes ago you talked about it, does the team feed off this whole thing? Doug got the note about the almost 6 3-and-outs we average per game, which leads the nation, and then the offense has been so fast. Does the whole team kind of live off of that? I mean, do you consciously feel that? And can you imagine if you were on the other side of playing a team that does that kind of thing?
Well, Al, it's certainly something that we talk about. 3 and out, going to score. Of course, our offense trying to score every time they get the ball, but whether it's a turnover, a 2-and-out, a 3-and-out punt, we have done a really good job of feeding off each other, and it's created a lot of momentum for us.
You talked about a couple San Jose State's offensive players that flash. Who are their defensive players that you've seen as playmakers?
Yeah, I think the first thing you look at is the 2 inside linebackers and the 2 safeties are both in the top 20 in tackles in the league. So they've got 4 guys in the top 20, which is excellent. They're strong up the middle. They got two big D linemen inside, 2 good, excellent inside backers, and then the 2 safeties. That's right up the middle of the defense. Dakari, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's top 5 in the country in interceptions. He's got 4, and so that guy he's got great ball skills. He's got coverage skills. He's got some speed. So he's an excellent talent out there at corner.